Prologue. The desert, far from Caldwell, New York, or Boston, Massachusetts, or sanity. Some 2 years after the fact, when Jim Heron was no longer in Special Ops, he would reflect that Isaac Roth, Matthias the Fucker, and he himself had all changed their lives the night that bomb went off in the sand. Of course, at the time, none of them knew what it all meant, or where it was all going. But that was life. Nobody got a guided tour to their own theme park. You had to hop on the rides as they presented themselves, never knowing whether you would like the one you were in line for, or if the bastard was going to make you throw up your corn dog and your cotton candy all over the place. Maybe that was a good thing, though. As if back then he would have believed he'd end up duking it out with a demon, trying to save the world from damnation. Come on. But that night, in the dry cold that washed in the second the sun went down over the dunes, he and his boss had walked into a minefield, and only one had walked out. The other, not so much. "This is it," Matthias said as they came up to an abandoned village that was the color of the Carmel on a friendly Sunday. They were 15 miles northwest from where they were staying in a barracks full of army boys. Being that he and his boss were ex-ops, they were outside the stream of defined corps, which worked to their benefit. Soldiers like them carried IDs from all branches of the service and used them whenever it suited. The village was more like 4 crumbling stone structures and a bunch of wood and tarp huts. As they approached, Jim's balls went tight when his green night vision goggles picked up movement all over the place. He hated those fucking tarps. They flapped in the wind, their shadows darting around like fast-footed people who had guns, and grenades, and all kinds of sharp and shiny. Or, in this case, grungy and gritty. He hated desert assignments. Better to kill in civilization. Although a proper urban or even suburban assignment carried more exposure, at least you had a shot at knowing what was coming at you. Out here, people had resources he was unfamiliar with, and that always made him twitchy as fuck. Plus, he didn't trust the man he was with. Yeah, Matthias was the head of the organization, with a direct line to God. Yeah, Jim had trained with the guy way back when. Yeah, he'd been under him for the last decade. But all of that just made him more certain he didn't want to be alone with the big man. And yet here they were, at a village in the fine township of nowhere anyone could find a bodyville. A gust of wind went Nike across the flat landscape, sprinting over the sand, picking up those tiny little particles, and carrying all of them right smack into the collar of his digital fatigues. Beneath his black lace-up boots, the ground was constantly shifting, as if he were an ant walking across the back of a giant, and irritating the piss out of the bastard. And